Before the age of 5, childhood looks deceptively simple from the outside. Small chairs, bright toys, colorful books filled with letters and numbers. It's easy to assume that learning at this stage should revolve around A, B, C's, and 1, 2, 3s, because those are the symbols adults recognize as education. But young children aren't miniature students waiting to be filled with information. Their brains are still wiring themselves. And what they need most during these early years isn't early academics, but the raw material that makes learning possible later. A child under 5 is not primarily learning facts. They are learning how to learn. This is the part that often gets lost. Letters and numbers are outcomes, not foundations. Before a child can sit still and trace an A or count to 10, their brain must first develop attention, emotional regulation, language comprehension, memory, curiosity, and a sense of safety. Without those, early academic exposure may look impressive on the surface, but doesn't always translate into long-term understanding or confidence. In the first 5 years of life, the brain is building its operating system. Every interaction, every moment of play, every conversation contributes to how that system runs. During this period, children are not absorbing information in neat categories. They're forming connections between experiences, emotions, sounds, movement, and meaning. When adults focus too narrowly on early academics, they sometimes overlook the deeper processes unfolding underneath. Young children learn through their bodies first. Movement is not a distraction from learning, it is learning. Crawling, climbing, stacking, running, spinning, and balancing all help the brain understand space, cause and effect, and coordination. These physical experiences strengthen neural pathways that later support reading, writing, and problem solving. A child who spends time moving freely is building the foundation for focus and self-control, even if it doesn't look academic. Play is often misunderstood as optional or secondary. In reality, play is how young children process the world. Through pretend games, children experiment with social roles, emotions, and rules. A cardboard box becomes a car, a house, or a spaceship, not because the child lacks structure, but because their imagination is actively organizing reality. In these moments, children practice decision-making, storytelling, empathy, and creativity. These skills don't show up on flashcards, but they are essential for later learning. Language development before age 5 is another critical piece that goes far beyond reciting the alphabet. Children need rich, back-and-forth conversation. Not drills, not correction-heavy instruction. They learn language by hearing it used naturally, by asking questions, by being listened to, and by feeling that their words matter. When adults slow down, respond thoughtfully, and expand on what a child says, the child's vocabulary and comprehension grow organically. A child who can recognize letters but struggles to understand spoken language or express ideas may find reading frustrating later. On the other hand, a child with strong verbal skills can often pick up letters and numbers quickly once formal instruction begins. Language is not about speed, it's about depth. Emotional safety is another invisible but essential ingredient. A young child's brain is highly sensitive to stress. When children feel pressured, rushed, or constantly evaluated, their ability to absorb new information decreases. Learning happens best when a child feels secure, curious, and supported. This doesn't mean avoiding challenges, but it does mean respecting developmental readiness. Many children labeled as advanced early on simply learn to perform for adult approval. Others labeled as behind may be developing at a different pace, focusing their energy on emotional or social growth instead. Development is not linear, and it is not uniform. Comparing children based on early academic markers often misses the bigger picture. Attention span is another skill built gradually through experience, not instruction. Young children are not designed to focus for long periods on abstract symbols. Their attention naturally shifts as they explore their environment. Over time, through play, storytelling, and shared activities, their ability to focus deepens. Expecting prolonged concentration on worksheets or drills before this readiness develops can backfire, creating resistance rather than engagement. Curiosity is one of the most powerful drivers of learning, yet it is also one of the easiest to suppress unintentionally. When children are constantly told what to learn, how to learn it, and when they've gotten it right, curiosity can shrink. When they are encouraged to ask questions, explore freely, and make mistakes without fear, curiosity expands. A curious child will eventually seek out letters, numbers, and knowledge on their own terms. Social interaction plays a huge role in early development. Through interacting with caregivers and peers, children learn turn-taking, cooperation, conflict resolution, and empathy. These experiences shape how they function in group learning environments later. A child who understands how to navigate social situations often adapts more easily to structured classrooms than one who memorized content early but lacks social confidence. Sensory experiences also matter deeply in the early years. Touching different textures, hearing varied sounds, tasting new foods, and seeing diverse environments all help the brain build a rich map of the world. Sensory input strengthens neural connections that support memory and understanding. Learning that involves multiple senses tends to stick, while learning that is purely symbolic often fades. There is also the matter of motivation. When children feel ownership over their learning, they engage more deeply. Before age 5, this means following their interests. A child fascinated by animals may naturally count legs, compare sizes, and learn new words without being told they are doing math or building literacy. Learning embedded in interest feels meaningful, not forced. This doesn't mean letters and numbers are harmful or unnecessary. They are part of the world children live in, and many children show interest in them naturally. The difference lies in emphasis. When ABCs and 1, 2, 3s become the primary goal rather than a byproduct of development, the balance shifts. The risk is not that children won't learn them, but that they'll associate learning with pressure instead of pleasure. The early years are also a time when self-image begins to form. Children start to notice how adults react to their efforts. Praise focused solely on performance can create anxiety, while encouragement focused on effort and exploration builds resilience. A child who believes they are capable of figuring things out is better prepared for academic challenges than one who believes their worth depends on being ahead. Storytelling is another underestimated tool in early development. Listening to stories, telling stories, and even inventing them helps children understand sequence, cause and effect, and emotional nuance. Stories teach far more than vocabulary. They teach how the world works. Long before children can read on their own, stories prepare their minds for comprehension and critical thinking. Routine and predictability also play a role. Young children thrive when they know what to expect. Consistent routines help them feel safe, which frees up mental energy for exploration and learning. A child who feels grounded is more open to new experiences than one who feels constantly rushed or uncertain. It's worth remembering that formal schooling is a relatively recent invention in human history. For most of our existence, children learned by observing, imitating, and participating in daily life. Modern research continues to show that this natural learning style aligns well with how young brains develop. Structured academics have their place, but that place comes later. When children enter formal education with strong emotional regulation, curiosity, language skills, and confidence, they tend to adapt quickly to academic instruction. Letters and numbers can be taught efficiently once the brain is ready. The reverse is not always true. Early academics cannot easily compensate for gaps in foundational development. Parents and caregivers often feel pressure, fueled by comparison and marketing, to ensure their child is on track or ahead. But development is not a race. Childhood is not something to rush through. The goal is not early achievement, but lifelong learning. What children under 5 need most is connection. Responsive adults who listen, engage, and model curiosity. Time to play deeply without constant interruption. Freedom to move, explore, and ask questions. Language-rich environments where conversation flows naturally. Emotional safety that allows mistakes without fear. These are not extras. They are essentials. When we shift our focus from early output to underlying processes, the picture becomes clearer. ABCs and 1, 2, 3s are tools. Before age 5, children are building the hands and minds that will eventually use those tools well. If we support that process, the rest follows naturally. By honoring how young children actually learn, we give them something far more valuable than early memorization. We give them confidence, curiosity, and a love of learning that can last a lifetime.